Evan trained for a race no one knew he was running. Every morning at 5:12 a.m., before the city awoke, he stepped onto the cracked sidewalk outside his apartment. No music, no camera, no motivational quotes taped to the mirror. Just his breath, the cold air, and one quiet promise to himself. You see, Evan wasn't an athlete. He wasn't chasing a medal or trying to impress anyone. He was trying to outrun a version of himself that had learned how to quit. On paper, at 28, Evan looked fine. He had a college degree, an office job, a decent paycheck. But inside, he felt stuck in neutral. He wasn't failing, but he was drifting. And that sense of drifting, of simply floating through life, scared him more than outright failure ever could. He remembered being younger, full of energy, believing that pure effort always led somewhere meaningful. But over time, life had taught him to settle, to be realistic, to lower his expectations, and so he did. Until one evening, sitting alone in his car after a long day at work, a chilling realization washed over him. He hadn't truly challenged himself in years. Not physically, not mentally, not emotionally. His life had become safe, predictable, and profoundly empty. That was the night everything changed. Evan decided to do something simple yet incredibly hard. He would run 1 mile, every single day. No goal of speed. No grand finish line in mind. Just 1 mile, done honestly. That first morning was humiliating. His lungs burned, his legs protested with every step. Halfway through, he desperately wanted to stop. After all, no one would know. But that's when the voice showed up, that familiar, insidious voice that had sabotaged so many of his past efforts. This doesn't matter. Just quit. Evan slowed his pace, but he didn't stop. When he finally finished that mile, there were no fireworks, no sudden flood of pride. Just exhaustion and a strange, unexpected calm. He had done it. So he showed up again the next day, and the next. Some days were easier, but most weren't. The rain soaked him to the bone, the snow cut his face. The fatigue followed him all the way to his desk at work. Still, Evan ran. Weeks turned into months, and that single mile began to change him, not because it was an impressive feat of athleticism, but because it was consistent. Evan was learning how to keep moving even when he was uncomfortable. He was learning how to finish something without any applause or external validation. And then he started to notice something unexpected. The discipline from that 1 mile started to spill over into other parts of his life. At work, he spoke up more in meetings. He could focus on difficult tasks for longer periods. He quit less easily on everything. The simple act of running 1 mile was rebuilding his entire mindset. One morning, Evan twisted his ankle. It wasn't serious, but it was painful enough to justify quitting for a few days. As he stood on the sidewalk, debating with himself, he knew no one would blame him. But then he remembered something important. Excuses always sound reasonable. They are designed to. So, instead of giving in, he walked the mile, and that painful, slow walk taught him more than any run ever had. He realized that progress wasn't always about intensity. It was about commitment. It was about showing up, even when you can't give 100%. Showing up is the victory. A year after he started, Evan ran his mile faster than ever before, not because he was pushing harder, but because he had become lighter on the inside. He carried less doubt, less hesitation. One evening, after a particularly long day, Evan was running and caught his reflection in the dark window of a closed store. He didn't recognize the man staring back at him at first, not because he looked physically different, but because he stood differently. He looked stronger, calmer, more certain. In that moment, Evan finally understood the profound truth of his journey. Most transformations don't happen in the spotlight. They happen in the quiet, unseen miles. Not in the big, celebrated moments, but in the small, quiet effort that is repeated day after day after day. If you feel like you're invisible right now, like your efforts are going unnoticed, that's good. That's where the real change happens. So, find your mile. Whatever your mile, is that one small, hard thing you can do every day. Do it when no one is watching. Because that's where winners are truly built. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more. We'll see you in the next one.